I'm leaving you because I've outgrown our small town life and frankly, you're just a mechanic who doesn't fit my new circle of surgeons, she said with a cold, clinical stare. I didn't argue. I just handed her the keys to the house I'd paid for and boarded a flight to Zurich for a position I'd secretly secured months ago. She only realized I was the one holding her entire world together when the debt collectors arrived at her luxury apartment and she found out I'd sold the ground beneath her feet. Hey everyone. Throwaway account here. This story is still making waves in my old social circles, and honestly, I need to get it all out. If you're here for a story about a loyal partner being treated like a stepping stone only for the lead ex to realize she stepped off a cliff, then buckle up. This is a long one, and the karma isn't just poetic, it's financial, social, and absolute. ****, I met Sarah 7 years ago. At the time, I was 23, working as a specialized diesel mechanic. I wasn't just a guy at a local shop. I worked on massive industrial engine ships, generators, the kind of machinery that keeps a city running. It was heavy, dirty work. I'd come home covered in oil, smelling of fuel and sweat, with hands that stayed stained no matter how hard I scrubbed. Sarah was in her second year of med school. She was beautiful, sharp, and constantly stressed. I fell for her fire. I decided right then that I would be the wind beneath her wings. I told her, focus on your books. Don't worry about the shifts at the cafe or the student loans for now. I've got us. For the next 5 years, that was our life. I worked 60-hour weeks. I took the graveyard shifts because they paid a 20% premium. I ate sandwiches in a cold garage so I could save enough to pay for her textbooks, her exam fees, and eventually, the mortgage on a beautiful 3-bedroom house on the outskirts of the city. I put the house in my name mostly because her credit was trashed from her early college years, but I told her it was our home. I remember the day she graduated. I was in the front row, wearing a suit that felt tight around my shoulders because I spent more time in coveralls than dress clothes. I was beaming. I thought we had made it. I thought my dirty work had bought us a clean future. ****, everything changed when Sarah started her residency at a top-tier surgical hospital. Suddenly, our weekend hikes were replaced by mandatory hospital galas. Our quiet dinners were replaced by her complaining about blue-collar mentalities she encountered. Then came Julian, Dr. Julian Vane, a third-generation neurosurgeon with a jawline carved from granite and a trust fund that could buy my garage 10 times over. Sarah started mentioning him constantly. Julian thinks I have a rare surgical intuition, or Julian says the way you talk about torque is actually quite quaint. Alex. I tried to be the supportive partner. I went to one of her hospital mixers. I wore a nice polo and slacks, but I could see her eyes scanning me, looking for the grease under my nails. She introduced me to her colleagues as Alex, who works in logistics. I'm a mechanic, Sarah, I said, confused. She laughed nervously. Heavy-duty logistics, darling. It's very technical. That night, in the car, she snapped at me. Why do you have to be so blunt? Julian's father was looking at your hands like you were a vagrant. Could you at least try to look like you belong in my world? I paid for the degree that got you into that world, Sarah. I reminded her. She just looked out the window. That was a loan, Alex. One I'll repay. But status. Status can't be bought with overtime pay. ***, what Sarah didn't know, what she never cared to ask, was that I wasn't just turning wrenches. Over those years of late nights, I'd been obsessed with efficiency. I had designed a modular fuel injection system that could retrofit old industrial engines to meet modern emission standards. I'd been working with a patent lawyer for 18 months. 6 months before the breakup, a massive Swiss engineering conglomerate, Vogel and Stein, reached out. They didn't just want the patent. They wanted the man who designed it. They offered me a chief technical officer position at their R&D headquarters in Zurich. The salary was in the mid-high 6 figures, plus royalties, plus a relocation package that was frankly absurd. I was going to tell her. I had planned a huge surprise dinner. But that week, I found the messages on her iPad. She'd left it open on the kitchen counter. Julian, when are you going to drop the dead weight? You're a surgeon, Sarah. You deserve a penthouse, not a suburban house with a guy who smells like a gas station. Sarah, soon. I just need to make sure my transition to the new apartment is set. He's served his purpose. But you're right, we're in different leagues now. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I felt a cold, hard clarity. I realized I had been an investment to her, not a partner. So, I decided to play the simple mechanic one last time. I contacted Vogel and Stein and accepted the job. But I requested a 2-month delay for personal transitions. I spent those 2 months quietly liquidating. I sold the house to a private developer who wanted the land. The closing date was set for the exact day Sarah planned to move her things out. I emptied our shared savings account, which was 95% my deposits anyway, and moved it to a private Swiss offshore account. I stopped the auto pay on her BMW lease. I stopped the payments on her high-limit credit cards that were under my authorized user umbrella. The day finally came. I was sitting at the kitchen table with a single suitcase packed. Sarah walked in, looking radiant in her scrubs, followed by a moving crew. She didn't even look guilty. "I'm leaving you, Alex," she said, her voice devoid of any warmth. "I've outgrown this life, and frankly, you're just a mechanic who doesn't fit my new circle. Julian and I have found a place in the city. I've already moved the basics. I'll send for the rest." I looked at her. "The house, Sarah. Keep it," she sighed, waving a hand dismissively. "I need something with a view, not a yard I have to mow. I'm moving into the Apex Towers. Julian says it's the only place for people of our standing." I stood up and handed her a set of keys. "These are the keys to the house. I'm leaving to go into a motel to pout." She smirked. "Something like that," I said. I walked out, got into my truck, and drove straight to the airport. I didn't look back. I had a first-class ticket to Zurich and a life that she couldn't even imagine. Life in Zurich was a dream. Within a month, I was lead managing a team of world-class engineers. I traded my grease-stained coveralls for tailored wool coats and high-end watches. I had a penthouse that actually did have a view of the Alps and Lake Zurich. Meanwhile, back home, Sarah's elite world was imploding. Because she had been so focused on image, she hadn't realized that her entire lifestyle was a house of cards. The BMW was the first to go. Since I'd stopped the payments and moved the money, the bank repossessed it right in the hospital parking lot, in front of the entire surgical department, including Julian. Then came the Apex apartment. Turns out, Julian hadn't found it for them. He'd just recommended it. Sarah had signed the lease assuming she could use the savings from our house sale to cover the astronomical rent. But there was no house sale for her. I had sold the house, and since it was in my name and purchased before we were legally married, we were just domestic partners in the eyes of the law. Every cent of that equity was in Switzerland with me. The debt collectors started calling her at work. Her authorized credit cards were maxed out and frozen. She tried to reach out to me, but I had changed my number and blocked her on every conceivable platform. The best part, Julian, I heard this through my old buddy Mike, who still worked at the hospital. Julian, the man of her dreams, was a classic elitist. The moment Sarah became messy, the moment she had to take the bus to work because her car was gone, the moment she started getting served papers in the break room, Julian lost interest. He didn't want a struggling partner. He wanted a trophy. He dumped her for a visiting consultant from Boston within a week of her car being towed. For months into my new life, a message landed in my LinkedIn inbox. It was the only place I hadn't blocked her because I'd forgotten I even had an account. "Sarah, Alex, please. I don't know where you are or what happened to the money, but I'm drowning. The developer who bought the house is suing me for illegal occupation because I stayed past the move-out date. My credit is ruined. I can't even rent a decent studio." I know I said things. I was stressed. The hospital environment is toxic. Julian was a mistake. He used me. "Please, can we talk? I saw your update. CTO of Vogel and Stein. Is that a joke? How did you get that job?" I didn't reply. A week later, another one. "Sarah, I'm living in my parents' basement." "Alex, my parents. They're so disappointed in me. They keep asking why I threw away a diamond for a piece of glass. Please, I just need a loan to get back on my feet. For old time's sake. I'm still the girl you helped through med school." I finally replied. "You're right, Sarah. You are the girl I helped through med school. And like any good investment, I've realized it's time to cut my losses. You said I was a stepping stone. Well, consider this the part where you've reached the other side and realized there's nothing there. Enjoy the basement. I hear Julian's new girlfriend has a very nice view of the city. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The final nail in the coffin happened a year later. I was back in the States as the keynote speaker for the International Green Energy and Engineering Expo. It was a massive event, and as fate would have it, it was held in the convention center right next to Sarah's hospital. I was finishing my speech to a standing ovation. I looked out into the crowd and saw a group of hospital staff who had been invited for the medical innovation track. There, in the third row, was Sarah. She looked 10 years older. She was wearing a standard issue hospital fleece, her hair pulled back in a messy knot. She looked at me on that stage under the lights, being shook hands by billionaires and senators, and her jaw literally dropped. After the session, I was at the VIP bar, sipping a 20-year-old scotch with my CEO. Sarah pushed through the security line. She looked frantic. Alex, wait. I turned around, adjusting my cufflinks. Can I help you, doctor? Sorry, I forgot your last name. Is it still the same, or did you take Julian's? The people around us chuckled. Sarah turned bright red. I need 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. I looked at my CEO. Give me a moment, Marcus. I turned back to Sarah. You have 60 seconds. I have a gala to attend. Julian's father might be there. I wouldn't want to look like I don't belong. She started crying. I lost everything, Alex. I'm a junior attending now, but my wages are being garnished to pay back the loans I thought you were covering. I'm a laughingstock at the hospital. Please, I know you're wealthy now. Just help me clear the debt. It's nothing to you. I leaned in close. You're right, Sarah. It is nothing to me. I could pay off your debt with the interest I made this morning. But I won't. Because you didn't just leave me. You tried to destroy my dignity. You called me just a mechanic. You told me I belonged with people who work with their hands. I held up my hands. They were clean, manicured, and holding a glass of scotch that cost more than her shoes. I still work with my hands, Sarah. I just use them to sign contracts now. Good luck with the residency. I walked away. As I did, I heard one of the interns near her whisper, "Is that the guy from the cover of Engineering Today? Does she actually know him?" Asterisk asterisk. I'm back in Zurich now. I've started a foundation that provides scholarships for trade school students who want to bridge the gap into engineering, helping the mechanics of the world realize they are the ones who actually build it. Sarah is still working double shifts to pay off her debts. She's successful by her old standards. She's a surgeon, but she's doing it alone, in a city where she burned every bridge, living a life that is predictable and safe. The moral: never look down on the person who is holding the ladder for you, because if they decide to walk away, it's a long, long way down. Thanks for listening. Reddit. To anyone out there being treated like a stepping stone, keep building your empire in silence. The sound of it rising will be the only response you ever need to give. Thanks for watching this video. Like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on new crazy and real-life stories. See you in the next video.